Hello everyone, Lawrence Fleming here. I'm doing another little short hike. I'm kind of trying to find out where the trail is. It's not very well marked. And I'm kind of off of it, I think. Anyhow, for today we're going to talk about the storm clouds that we're seeing. We can actually see them gathering. And you know when you see things on the horizon gathering that you need to be ready. I'm going to show you a couple little snippets of videos of what it's been like here. I know to be ready. We're waiting to see whether there's going to be a confrontation with China. Well, there already is a confrontation. We're going to see how far it will go. Who's going to lose at playing chicken? These are big stake chicken games. I hear people out in the distance. I'm surprised there's anybody here. A lot of main metro Atlanta areas have started back to school. It's going to start being more and more vacant around here. So pray for the teachers, pray for the schools. Pray that there's some way we can stop this indoctrination that they've got going on. They're preparing these young minds for a future of under the thumb control. I wish everybody could homeschool, but then they'd ban that. They'd come up with a law that says you can't. Anything basically you can come up with to fight this overthrow, they will come up with a law to ban it. They got to stay within the Constitution for the time being. But believe me, they've already got a plan to get around that. And I think we're going to see it implemented here very, very soon. I've been posting some pictures up on my page, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the fact that they are doing stuff in New York City. Everybody knows what a storm looks like. You pull it up on your radar and you can see it coming in. You can make plans then. Once the storm hits, you really only have two choices: to hunker down and make sure you have enough supplies, make sure you have food and everything you need, or you have to get out in it. And then you've got to have your gear. You got rain gear, hats, boots, gloves, everything you need to stay dry, or you're going to have to get out in that and get wet. The first option is the best one, but you've also got to plan for that. You've got to plan for all of them. You don't know what's coming up. Okay, had some people walk in behind me, so I just had to wait for them to pass. I'm going to see if I can find a decent view over here. I'm right next to the river in the public area, but I shouldn't be here too long, so I think we'll be okay. I see a swing I can sit on, but I'm going to be facing the wrong way. We have a nice boat ramp, and the river is once again muddy because of all the rain. We've had a lot of rain north of us. We got a little bit of it here this last week, but for the most part, it's been going around us. Okay, I was talking about New York City. Not too long ago, they posted I think it was on Twitter, there's a New York City emergency management site that I put a link to, and they posted a deal telling people what to do in case of a nuclear attack. Well, our fearless leader is going around provoking anybody and everybody with a nuke, so they must expect that there's going to be retaliation. The whole world knows that the financial center of the country is New York. That's where they attacked on 9/11. And we're not too far from 9/11, people, if they decide they want to do a follow-up. We're a little over a month away. Are we going to be here? I don't know. We're talking about this whole month of August has got some major holiday events coming up. So let's take a look at our storm, and then I'll get back with you with some scripture. Okay, so we can see what a storm looks like when it's gathering. It doesn't take much to figure out that there's a storm gathering around the world. Some of it's going to be God in punishing the earth. Some of it's going to be setting up for the harlot and the Antichrist to be able to take over, which will be the devil behind it. You don't have to worry about either one. You know, in Job, Satan brought a lot of storms in on his family because God gave him permission. God's going to give the devil permission to do stuff here soon. But we've also got our gathering storms of the military kind. Which one are we going to see first? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Again, God is our refuge. So let's take a look at some scriptures here. Let's look at Isaiah. I'm in chapter 24, verse 1, and we're going to get to 25 eventually. Behold, the Lord makes the earth empty and makes it waste, distorts its surface, it scatters abroad its inhabitants. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest as with the servant, so is his master, as with the maid, so is her mistress, as with the buyer, so is with the seller, so is with the lender, so is with the borrower, as with the creditor. It goes on and on and on. It's basically saying nobody's exempt. The whole world is going to basically be under this here shortly. The harlot and their 2030 group want to destroy most of the people on this planet. There are, if you want to be creative, there's a number of ways to destroy people. Starve them to death, kill them with a bug of some sort, poison the water. One of the easiest ways to kill people is just to start a war. A World War III war would be great for them. Will the people finally wake up? No, because it continues on. God wouldn't have to go through the seals and the bowls and the trumpets if people were smart. They'd recognize the first seal and go, okay, God, we're sorry, we're coming back to you. But they're not. The problem that we have to deal with as Christians is what do we do with those that are down here that we still want to make sure they're protected. Maybe they don't know Christ yet. Maybe they've been refusing Christ all this time. We need to keep planting seeds. Eventually it will get tough enough for those that are holding out. And then once everybody's gone, then it's the lake of fire for the rest. There'll be a judgment. Get one last chance. What's going to be the surprise is those that come up to God and say, but we did all these things in your name, and he's going to say, get out of here, I don't know you. Those are the ones that are going to be surprised more than anyone. We have those that are in love with this earth and not God, and they're going to sink with that ship. I'm going to turn over to Isaiah 25. Okay, we're talking about things getting tough. And so in verse 4 of chapter 25, for you have been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in distress, a refuge from the storm, a shade from the heat. God protects those that stay close to him. So that's really all this message is about. We have storms gathering all around us. Which one's going to hit first? I mean, yesterday I was expecting to get rain, but it all traveled north. The day before, we got hit. Almost the same pattern. It's stuck in a pattern. It's been that way for almost a week. All you can do is see it and prepare. I told you in the last video about food shortages to prepare. We can see the storm coming. If you get down and you're out of food because you didn't prepare and you've been warned, shame on you. Maybe if you're starving to death, you will remember some of the people that were telling you to be ready. It is going to be ugly. We're told in one event that a quarter of the population will be destroyed. In another event, a third. And these are just some of the judgments. The harlot is going to start killing people, especially Christians, because we're going to oppose what the harlot's doing. We know what the harlot's doing because we've been warned. They don't want us around. Yes, we have a rapture coming up. There's actually 3 of them. The first one, is that going to get everybody? There's going to be people that are surprised, as I've said. They have a chance to make the second one. The third one, that's the hardest one of all. You don't want to go all the way to that one. You really want the first one. This month are 2 days of awe, which has been throughout history, major events. Both temples were destroyed on one of those 2 days. It's a day of God getting everybody's attention and changing things. So are we going to go up in that one? I keep telling you that I don't think we're tied to a Jewish event. But things are getting tough all around us. The storms are building. I guess you'd have to be in the Midwest to see a hammerhead cloud. If you don't know what one of those are, it's basically the hot air rising, lifting up the moisture, it's forming a cloud, and then it flattens out at the top. The reason it flattens out is because it reached another barrier, a layer of atmosphere that it can't go beyond. And so it's got a flat top and it's a hammerhead. Eventually, it will collapse, and when it does, it will be a cloudburst. Okay, let's take a look at Matthew. I'm going to go to 8:23 first. Is that where I was going? Okay, 8:24. 23 it is. There's a little bit of Jesus talking, but basically it's just a story here. So they decided that they were going to leave, get in the boat, and go away from the shore for a little bit. I'm talking. So in 23, now when he'd gotten into the boat, his disciples followed him. And suddenly a great tempest or storm arose on the sea, so that the boat was covered with the waves. But he fell asleep. Jesus went to sleep during this storm, and his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we are perishing." But he said to them, "Why are you fearful, O you of little faith?" Jesus allowed the storm to come up just to test him. He wasn't worried. The storm either was not going to sink the boat, or he was designing it for them to come to him that he would stop it. Either way, it doesn't matter. If you're with Jesus, he's going to either protect you from the storm or make the storm go away. Then he arose, continuing on in 26, he rose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. So the men marveled, saying, "Who can this be that even the winds of the sea obey him?" I guess they still hadn't figured it out yet. All right, and then I want to turn to 7:24. There is it on the other page. Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to the wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on the house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on a rock. It's one of his standard parable types where it's a true physical reference that has a connotation to it. If you build on Jesus, the rock, it will protect you from the land, the rock, so that when you are in a storm, you're well protected. We just saw that on the boat. Keep putting the word in your head. The more you put the word in your head, the less the enemy can get in. And if you do it continually, you're going to be able to see what's coming. It's helpful if you know something's going to be thrown at you so you know when to duck. Well, if you had eyes in the back of the head, you could do that. Well, God is omnipresent. He's got eyes everywhere. The devil isn't. He's got to have demons and his dominions to be able to do what he's going to do. God can see everything. He already knows everything anyway. Okay, let's take a look at Ezekiel 13:13. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, I will cause a stormy wind to break forth in my fury, and there shall be a flooding rain in my anger, and great hailstones in fury to consume it. God can control the wind. The devil can control the wind. You don't want to get in the middle. Stand behind Jesus and you'll be fine. And I got another quick boat story. Now it happened in, let's see, this is Luke 8:22. Now it happened on a certain day that he got into a boat with his disciples and said, "Let us cross over to the other side." And they launched out, but as they sailed, he fell asleep. So this is Luke's version of it. It's important enough that it's in 3 of the Gospels. And the windstorm came down on the lake, and they were filling with water and were in jeopardy. So this one we get a little bit more description. It wasn't just a big storm. The boat was flooding. And they came to him and awoke him and said, "Master, we are perishing." And he arose and rebuked the wind and the raging of the water. And they ceased, and there was calm. But he said to them, "Where is your faith?" Your faith is what's going to get you through this. Nothing else. I'm telling you to, do some physical things like prepping, have a bug out bag like they tell people in New York now. You should have all that. The further away from the city you are, the better. Because if the city gets a bug out, there isn't a major city in the country that's going to do anything but become a parking lot. All the cars are going to hit the freeway and there's nowhere to go. And then it's going to take a couple hours. Well, if you got an inbound missile coming at you, excuse me, I had an ant crawling on my leg. Crawling was okay, but he might get annoyed and then they can bite. But have a plan. Plan where you're going to go. If you're living in the suburbs of a major city, that's probably still too close. The major city will be what they're aiming for. They're not aiming for suburbs. But you want to get far enough away from it. Know your area. Which way do the winds normally blow? Most storms go from west to east, but we do get them from across the United States because that's the direction the jet stream goes. But you can get a storm from any direction. So know what your weather's doing because you're going to have to get away from it. Our fearless leader is provoking everybody with nukes. I've said it before. I think they're expecting for us to get hit with a nuke. They want it. It will reduce the population. They don't have to control so many people. And if we go to war, they can continue to print money. They can declare full martial law. They can do it anyway, and they're probably going to if they don't get anybody to bite. It's going to happen. We've talked about some cities and some areas that are described as uninhabitable afterwards. That can only be a nuke. Because the radiation will last a long time. You still can't go into the area of Chernobyl and stay. They let people go in with a guide, look around, take pictures, and then get out. They can't stay. It's still dangerous. And even going in for that short amount of time, you're still getting radiation. But they've got some kind of a formula that if you don't get more than an X amount, you're okay. I know I worked in areas that had radiation when I worked at the Linear Accelerator Center, and I had to wear a dosimeter. It had a little bit of material in there that would collect radiation, and then they would test it. And if I didn't get any, I was fine. If I got a little bit, I was fine. If I got over a certain amount, I had to take time off. And it would be paid time off because we're not supposed to get any. They know how to deal with radiation now. You look at some of the old sci-fi movies. One of my favorites was War of the Worlds, which is ironic because we're heading into another world war. But in any case, when one of the spaceships landed, and they're poking at it, and it's hot, and the guy goes, "What's this ticking in your car?" "Oh, I was doing a little prospecting." He's prospecting for uranium, which there is some in the Sierras. I've seen it. But it's 30 feet away from the spaceship and it's ticking. That's dangerous. Someone says, well, maybe we ought to get away from it. No duh, Sherlock. Yes, get away from it. They may have spent too much time already with it. They didn't know. But now we do. We know what a nuclear bomb will do. And the ones that we used in World War II are tiny. It's a factor of 10 to 100 times more, depending on what they want to put the bomb in. And they've got even clean bombs, if you will, as if there is such a thing. But, you know, if you're going to go in and completely destroy a city, there's nothing there. You can't come in and take over because there's nothing there. If you can take out everything there that's technology-wise, take out all the electronics, shut everything down, kill the people, but leave the buildings, you can come in and clean up and take over. So they have EMP bombs. They have hydrogen bombs that throw out a lot of radiation out. The bombs in World War II were detonated above ground. That way they can spread out. If they hit the ground, they're going to create a crater, and it's going to already absorb some of the power. If you can take it and make it go above ground, it will spread out, which means that the epicenter is larger. If you dropped a bomb at the height of the Empire State Building above New York, it would destroy all of New York. Your bug-out bag won't do you any good. The subways are going to look like they did in Planet of the Apes. You remember what those look like. Everything above will be destroyed. If you're below ground, you have a chance. But not much. You've got to get out of there at some point. If you're taking a subway train, I would make sure you've got food and water in your bag that you're carrying. Every car should have a survival kit. This is stuff I would teach if I was teaching camping. I like to watch the movie or the TV series Survivor Man with Les Stroud, because he would go out and deliberately strand himself. He'd take a film crew out and they'd film some of the surrounding areas just so they have some B footage, and then they'd leave him. I believe he had an emergency radio at least part of the time, maybe not in the beginning, but part of the time if he needed it. But a lot of times they were an hour away. He had to make a call whether he could get by or not. We're going to have to learn to survive if we're still here. I'm not anxious to get out of here like some people are, because we've got souls to save, and if we abandon them, who's going to help them? I'm surviving now, and I'm showing you how you can survive. If it gets too tough in the city, get out. This place here is going to be a ghost town here tomorrow. There's 4 of us here today. 2 are leaving today, 2 are leaving tomorrow. 4 campers at our campsite. There's going to be people that come in here to do day hikes and come in here to fish on the river, but there's not very many. I'm going to another park tomorrow, and I'll come back here in a week or so. We have a rapture that's coming up. This is an important one. It's the first one. Be ready to be part of that. Don't fool yourself. Because if you fool yourself, God knows what's going on. Oh, this ant came back again. Crawling up my leg. That's what happens. I'm standing. I guess it would be the same if I was sitting, but you still can't see this. Where's the camera? That brown layer, that light brown, that's the river. This isn't the Colorado River, because there's no rapids. And it's brown because it gets all the runoff from the farmland around us. The Colorado River is being controlled. The environmentalists are playing with the weather out west. I might do a video on it. I don't know how much of this stuff is going to get filtered. I'm trying not to get into too much what they're doing. Just be aware that they're doing all kinds of things to mess with us. Look at Lake Mead. In its entire history of the dam, it has never been as dire as it is right now. They're controlling the weather. How? There's a number of ways. You can see clouds over areas before it gets to where it normally goes to and get rid of the water that's in it. There's other things you can do, but they're doing it. Millions in our country are at risk. Millions around the world are at risk. They finally let a boat come out of a Ukraine harbor with grain in it. Russia was controlling that. Did they get an agreement? If they did, Russia got something out of it. Okay. I'm at my limit here, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this one short. I'm trying to keep it at 25 minutes. That way I can get these uploaded. Sometimes I can't get the Wi-Fi to work and I have to drive into town. That's about a 10 or 15 minute drive, or I can let it go all night, but I can't use it. My phone when I do that. I have to go get my hotspot activated, then I'm okay, and I can let it do the upload. I'm raising money for a laptop. My old laptop is 10 or 11 years old. I think it had Windows 7 or 8 on it. It barely runs nowadays. I can play solitaire on it, and that's about it. I got it, it's in storage. I haven't even brought it out. My workstation, I'd bring it out and use it, but the power supply's dead. And it's in an old case. I can't find a replacement power supply. So I have to buy a new case. More money, which I don't have at the moment. So I do need some help. I don't need a lot. If everybody on my channel donated $1, I'd have more than enough for everything I want to do. Everybody can afford that. And you've got a couple of choices. You can contribute to my fund for the laptop, or you can join my Patreon account. Either one, God will bless you, and I will be grateful. I'm working on my Telegram account. It is not going as easy as I thought it would. They've got a major size limitation on the size of videos. I can give you quick updates, but I'm not going to be able to do these long videos like I'm doing here. I'll keep this up as long as I can, but the world is trying to shut people like me down. Every major preacher has already gone over to the other sites. Unfortunately, I'm by myself, and I've got to learn all these apps by myself and continue to do this. So it's taken me a little bit longer. If they take me down here, I'll spend all my time on the other ones, but they won't shut us up. They might find ways that we just have to adapt. Okay. The storm clouds are gathering. Don't be caught. Carry your umbrella. Carry rain gear. I carry rain gear in my backpack, my little one, when I'm hiking. The only thing I don't have are rubbers for my feet. Yeah. If I knew I was going to be in bad weather, I'd bring boots for that. Most of the time I'm okay, and I'm in tennis shoes that half the time are sweaty anyway, so it doesn't matter. They get a little wet. But I do have rain gear, and I have an umbrella with me. You should always carry those anyway. What if it's raining and you got to change a tire in your car? Keep one in the back. I have a heavy duty one back there. It's too heavy for me to carry normally. I can lay on the ground and crawl underneath the car and do whatever I have to do with it. Although my car doesn't get flat tires. Knocking on. Really doesn't. They're low profile tires and designed not to go flat. So if you have the right equipment, you can take some liberties. But my car won't go off-road, not very well. If it's muddy, it's not going anywhere. I've taken it on gravel roads, but I've spun out on mud. It's got no traction with those type of tires. Those are not designed for that. Make sure you've got the right equipment. But I get 35 on the highway and 18 in town, so it allows me to travel more. Everything has a purpose. We all have a purpose. Don't try to do something you're not qualified for unless God is convincing you that He's going to give you the ability. But don't go off doing anything without Him. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Yep, I'm over because I still got to cut in my rain pictures. Okay. Be safe. It's going to get really rough out there. We hopefully have a rapture. But if not, I can weather pretty much anything. And so can you. Prep up on your food. Learn some few survival tactics if you need to bug out. Keep something in your car. Whatever your primary vehicle is, keep something in it. Throw some food back there. I've got some of this food for survival in containers, and I do my camping food. So I've always got something I can just heat water and cook with. Throw some of that in your car. Have something ready to go, because you're not going to get much of a notice. If the alerts go off and they say that we're under attack, get everybody up, get the pets, and head out. But you're going to have the car packed, because you don't have time to grab everything. Be safe. See you in the clouds.